um, let's see. I needed a motion to accept the agenda. Has everyone had a chance to look at it?
Nick will move it.
Yep, I'll second it.
Okay. So are there any other items you'd like to add to it or any amendments? Doesn't sound like it. So could I have, I guess, all those in favor of, does anyone need a moment to have a look at it? Okay, so all those in favor of accepting the agenda as presented?
Nick, yes.
Doug, yes.
Yep.
Nick, yes. Okay. Anyone
I should
opposed?
just I
Okay.
should just note that I'm not here to vote. I mean, I'm not a voting member.
Okay.
I'm just joining in as in my ex officio capacity as the mayor, but Jeff is the voting member of council.
All right, thank you for that. So anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. Then we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. So it's the appointment of a new committee chair. So I've held this position for the last 2 years. It's hardly onerous, but I would like to step aside and give one of our other public members a chance to take over. So do we have any nominations for chair?
I can make a nomination for chair. I've chatted with Nick, and I would like to nominate him.
All right. Do we have
This is Nick, and I agree.
You're fine with that?
Yes.
I guess
only because I was the last one to say no.
Okay.
And John, you know what that's like, don't you?
Yeah. Okay. All right then. Any other nominations? I guess it can only be one of a public member. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. So those in favor, and I can't see hands here. So anyone opposed? Okay, so carried. So welcome, Nick, as the new committee chair.
Okay. I guess the first item that we have to attest to or discuss is the minutes of our June 27th, 2019 meeting. And although Stephen did send out a document last July early and circulated the minutes, and I think we all agreed with what was written was accurately presented what took place in the meeting. So I think just as a formality that it's wise if we formally adopt those minutes, although council in the documentation that's been in the town, it has already been approved. But I think just for our committee's sake that we should formally adopt those minutes as presented. Could I have a motion for that, please?
I'll make that motion. It's Sandy.
Okay, Sandy. And I assume Doug is going to second that?
I shall do that, yes.
Okay. Any discussion or any changes that have to be made? Okay. Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Then the motion to adopt those minutes is carried. And I think that's a better way to handle this type thing because it's hard with people putting up hands and trying to talk and whatnot. And so if anybody has wants to oppose a particular motion, they can announce it or abstain. And otherwise we'll assume that all the voting members are in agreement with what the motion states. Okay, next on the agenda is item D. And review of the Heliport complaints since our last meeting. And from what I see in the documentation, there have been no complaints registered formally with the town in the past year. Stephen, could you maybe adjust that?
That's right. So we're talking about 2019 specifically.
That's correct.
And yeah, there was no complaints that registered as a formal complaint that would indicate operations outside of the existing lease.
Okay. Just as a side note, I continue to get a number of people that contact me about operations that take place over in the east side of the valley. And once I advise them that all the operations, or the majority of the operations that come up the east side are to do with search and rescue operations, they fully understand. They don't have a problem with that at all. So.
Yeah, and so in 2019, there were some, I did receive some phone calls about concerns about the noise and as well as fuel smells from time to time. Those were the kinds of complaints that I received. However, it didn't result in a operational departure from the lease.
Okay, so I think in general, unless anybody has anything else to add, that there have been no complaints of violation of the agreement that the town has with Alpine Helicopters, and in 2019. So I think we just we accept that as a report, unless anybody else feels that it requires a motion. But I don't think it requires a motion. We just accept it for information. I noticed that Jeff isn't showing up on the screen at all.
I'm here.
Oh, you're there? Okay, Jeff. All right.
Might just be, you might have to scroll over at the top of the screen because there's not
okay,
quite
I just
enough.
don't see your smiling face. I saw it in the parkade the other day, but that was about all. Okay, so with that in mind, or that discussion concluded, let's go on to item E, review of the operation for 2019 operation report from Alpine. Todd, you're here.
I am here, yeah.
Okay. Okay, is there anything that you want to highlight? I've been through it myself, and I don't have any questions. I thought I would highlight a few things that are going to affect us in the next year and a half, and that is, well, first of all, for the complaint basis, there was no sightseeing flights for nearly 20% of last year in 2019. And I think we all know the reason why, because of the COVID problem. The other part is in the total number of emergency responses, the 201 emergency missions that were directly operated out of Canmore. We've just got to say that, it would be so much to the detriment of the whole valley if we did not have Alpine relatively close to operate those type of missions. The only other thing that I want to mention was that there have been a number of improvements made to equipment, which, and maybe Todd, you could comment on it. From my understanding, and I'm not, I'm a fixed wing operator, or I used to be. So these wings that move are relatively new to me. But from discussions with you over the past year, that some of the changes that you've made to the equipment are going to have an effect on lessening the noise impact footprint of helicopters operating. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. So we purchased from the same manufacturer that made the tail rotor blades, a set of main rotor blades. Unfortunately, there's no documented information about if it actually lowers the noise footprint. Unfortunately, they say it does, but they haven't actually done that part of the testing. So there's nothing documented. So we have had that set of rotor blades this past summer, as well as in 2019. And we think they're quieter. Unfortunately, I can't back that up with any type of proven data. But unfortunately, with a lot of this stuff, we're limited on what we can purchase and upgrade just by what's certified and available on the market. So we're doing the best we can to try and upgrade that equipment, but unfortunately our options are not, there's not a whole
the other thing we have to pay attention to or give credit to is with the reduced revenue operation, reduced revenue stream coming into Alpine, it most certainly affects your ability to go out and make some improvements that are wish list type thing. Obviously, safety improvements are handled on an ongoing basis, but with the big cutback in revenue coming in, it doesn't give you a whole pile of cash to go out and spend money to do certain things. So that's just my comment. The other thing that I wanted to note that, and I think a number of us made it out to the open house, and it was entertaining, but it was very, the information that people were giving to us that talked about the rescuing and what was happening was very well received by the community. And a lot of people did not realize just the extent that Alpine commits their operation to. And I thought it was a great afternoon. I only spent about an hour and a half there, but it was a really great afternoon. And I would encourage Alpine to maybe consider that again in the future. Maybe not this summer, but maybe next year, once things get back to normal, that it would be, I think it's something that gets people out. It's like the breakfast at the fire hall once a year, that it gets people out, gets them talking. And I think the more you can talk to people about this type of thing, the better off we are into having them understand why certain things take place. So hats off to Alpine for what they did. So does anybody else, or Jeff or Todd, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I think to your comment there about the open house, we're very proud of what we do here, and it's actually a lot of fun for us to get out and show the community exactly what we're involved in. We're quite a major player in the search and rescue industry in Canada, so it's good that we can get out and show the folks around the community what they actually have in their backyard. So thanks for that.
Okay.
Nick, is John speaking? Do you mind if I?
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And I just wanted to note that this report is in regards to 2019 operations, which were all pre-COVID.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, and I thought, Nick, that you had suggested that the results of the 2019 also reflected some COVID impact, but
okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, but I'm interested in, Todd, in knowing a bit more about some of the details under the section other helicopter heliport matters. I do want to note that you've emphasized that the 12-minute sightseeing tours will be eliminated as of 2021. Is there any additional information on that decision, or any more you can add to that?
Yeah, I guess if people aren't aware that this process maybe took a bit longer than we anticipated because of contractual obligations. So no, those are all finished now. And yeah, that as of January 1st, we will no longer be offering that 12-minute sightseeing tour in an effort to lessen the impact of the aircraft coming in and out of the valley.
But they'll be offered at Stony Nakota Casino, right?
That's correct, yes.
That's I think positive information for our community, and thanks for highlighting it and making that change. I'm also curious about if you have any details you could share regarding your carbon offset program.
Unfortunately, that's one thing that has definitely been changed with the current COVID situation. So we had started down towards a program, but with the recent changes in business and how things are operating at this time, we're in the process of revamping exactly what that's going to look like. So I don't have any permanent detail, or sorry, any official details to give you at this time.
Okay, I understand that. Thanks, Todd. And a similar question about the planting of trees. Is that something that you were able to accomplish this year, or
No, that was actually something that was an idea I had personally that I thought if you look at some of the heliports in Europe, they use that as a way of mitigating the noise. They also have different types of barriers, whether it's trees. I thought trees would be a good idea because they're environmentally friendly. But there may be some options, and it's definitely something that maybe Stephen and I can discuss on, or yourself or the council, of how we can maybe make that happen to help mitigate some of the noise.
Yeah. Do you have any data that would be available in the future to suggest what sort of benefits there might be from that?
I don't know if there's any official data, but I can definitely look into that and get back to you for sure.
That'd be great. Thanks. Just out of curiosity, how's the safety factor when you're talking about trees adjacent to a heliport pad?
It's more actually as a number of those trees were affected from 2013 during the flood. So there is some standing dead trees that we're concerned may fall onto either the buildings or part of the helicopter landing area itself. So that is my main concern, and we'd like to get that cleared up. We didn't actually get to that, once again, just because of how everything rolled out this summer. So it's definitely my top priority here. Hopefully I'll get that done sooner than later.
Okay, well, thanks for taking my questions, Todd. I appreciate that.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
Stephen?
Yes, thank you for submitting the report. Yeah, another a big year in terms of emergency flights. I just want to commend your operations there for another safe year. I can't take that for granted at all, especially with the recovery flights and things like that. When the weather is turning bad, your team is going in when it's safe to do so and helping out the community. So I think that's just a monumental effort and skill that comes out of Alpine that is really appreciated. And I guess you've done a lot of inspections and that sort of thing this last year. Now, in terms of the fuel containers, there was some concerns from some members of the community about smell coming from the fuel, and wondering if you've given any thought about how to manage the fume odors coming off the site here.
I guess that's well, I guess to begin with, so with our fuel system, it's all monitored. It's just recently changed. It's not, I think the report said it's the Petroleum Association of Alberta. That's just changed. So now there's a new regulatory body. So that just came into effect within the last 2 months, I believe. So we're in the process of getting to know exactly what their requirements will be, if they've changed or not. But there is a regulatory body that looks after the fuel containment itself. Also, as part of our morning checks and at the end of the day checks, all of that fuel containment system is checked on and make sure that there's no spills or leaks, and that's a daily thing. It's also part of our monthly inspection as well as our yearly inspection. So that fuel system is inspected regularly, twice a day. So as far as the containment itself goes, it's looked after.
And in terms of actual physical spills, there were none, no incidences in 2019, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Todd, just a question, Nick here. Is the odor that's being attributed to fuel, is that a fuel item or is it an exhaust item from the helicopters?
I think Stephen could maybe talk to that better than myself.
Okay.
I believe it was, the concern was, Stephen might be able to answer that better than myself.
I believe the main source of any odors is coming from exhaust, Nick.
Okay.
And not per se from the actual fuel or any sort of spills or when you're filling the equipment. But yeah, so I mean, I guess just wondering if there's any sort of mitigation that's even possible.
It would, well, from my speaking, I think it would be impossible, but just I think we should make a clear definite or delineation between fuel spill odors and exhaust odors, because their fuel spill, it creates another environmental issue. And from what Todd was just saying and what you backed up, that there were no recorded fuel spills in the last year. So I think the problem is not the fuel. I think it's the exhaust from the helicopters. Okay. Any other questions of Todd on the Alpine report? Okay, I think the way things are worded, that we should formally approve the Alpine helicopter operating, that they've operated in accordance with the business set out in Schedule D of the Heliport lease, and then we can forward that off, our approval off to council. So could I have a motion to approve?
Yeah,
I'll motion
make
that.
that motion.
Okay, Sandy?
Yeah.
I'll second it.
By Doug?
Yep, I'll second.
Okay, and just for clarification,
Right.
the voting members on the committee are Sandy, Todd, Doug, myself. I know it shows Jean on the screen, but that's just because she does yoga. I don't do yoga, and Jeff. Okay. So anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Unless anybody disagrees, the motion is carried unanimously and approved. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Next step, and this is, I'm sure Mr. Mayor wants to have, I would ask him to lead the discussion on this, and that is item F on our agenda, next step for stakeholder engagement. And Mr. Mayor, if I could maybe turn it over to you, because it's close to your heart.
Well, I'll certainly acknowledge it's very important to council as we come into final time allotted under the existing agreement, and it'll be important that we engage the community prior to council approving a new lease terms. But I'll let Stephen speak to the process that administration has been developing for that, for the committee or for the public engagement prior to it being a council matter.
I'll defer to Robin if that's okay.
Somebody will know.
Mayor Borman, it's Robin Dinaj. I will happily lead this part of the conversation. So Georgina, if I could share my screen, I just want to put a bit of context for this. So I'm going to share my screen, and for the benefit of everyone, I just want to remind the committee of council's motions from, and you're able to see my screen with the relevant council.
Yeah.
So these were the motions made at the February 4th, 2020 meeting. And the first one is that council direct the Heliport Monitoring Committee to meet with stakeholder groups to understand stakeholder groups' perspectives regarding the Heliport lease renewal and report back to council. And then the next motion was that council direct administration to report back on the recommended terms of renewal for Schedule D of the Heliport lease. And lastly, council would like to schedule a town hall to hear public feedback after the revised Schedule D of the Heliport lease has been presented to the committee of the whole. And so we have taken a look at how we can accomplish everything directed through these council motions. And this is the timeline that we have laid out. So early November, we'd like to schedule the stakeholder engagement, which is what we're hoping to do with the committee, and then actually conduct that stakeholder engagement in November and December, so that in January we can consolidate that feedback, discuss any proposed changes to Schedule D with Alpine helicopters. And of course, we want to report back to the Committee of the Whole, and those reports will be due in February. And in March, that's our goal right now, that at the Committee of the Whole, administration would report back on the recommended terms of renewal for Schedule D of the Heliport lease. And that would be based on what we heard from stakeholders during the engagement. And that would address two of council's motions. And then following that, schedule a town hall to hear public feedback. And we've just proposed some dates that would happen in the spring. And then that still gives time for final lease negotiations with Alpine helicopters before the lease term ends the end of November. And all of that information has been updated on our website to give the public a sense of what can be expected in terms of public engagement. And we have identified a preliminary list of stakeholder groups that were in the original report to council in February of this year. We expect many stakeholders will be interested in providing their input. So the list includes, but not limited to, Alberta Environment and Parks, Alberta Agriculture and Forestry, Kananaskis Safety, Parks Canada, Transportation Canada, Alberta Health Services, Tourism Kananaskis, Tourism Camera Kananaskis, likely the Camera Hotel and Lodging Association, the Backcountry Commercial Operators, the MD of Bighorn, and the Bow Valley Helicopter Noise Alliance. So we've identified those, and we can certainly drill down into how we're going to work with all of those. But it is quite an in-depth discussion, and we are proposing holding a workshop with the Heliport Monitoring Committee so that we can get into all of the details of how the committee would like to actually conduct all of the logistics and details of this engagement.
Okay, just a question, Robin, Nick here.
Mm-hmm.
Other than perhaps Jeff, I just wonder who else this material has been shared with up to this point, because I've never seen anything on it. And maybe Doug and Sandy would want to comment.
Which material are you using?
The last screen you just had up.
Oh, the council motions?
Yeah,
So and the schedule.
whole timeline that was there.
The timeline was proposed by administration so that we could meet council's motions.
Okay. I guess my point is it's the first time that I think a few of us have even seen this.
Yes, and that's why we're hoping to have a workshop with you so that we can sort out those logistics and determine what works best for the committee.
Robin, you said that this schedule is posted on the town's website?
As a draft, yes.
Okay.
And with a note that it'll be updated as timelines are finalized.
Can you share your screen once again, please, Robin?
Yes. Actually, what I do is I can, yes, one moment.
It's just it had a number of things that I couldn't write down, and I just want to take it. There it is. Okay, good. Mm-hmm. I can.
And we can certainly look at this more during the workshop as well.
Yeah, no, I can just do a screenshot of it now so that I've got it there. Okay, good. Okay, so basically from us, you're looking for sometime in November. Oh, let me just pull it back up on my screen now. It's okay. Okay. Sometime in November, which we're at right now, in early December, you want to meet, or a meeting between the committee and administration to talk about how we're going to engage. Is that correct?
No, actually, we're looking to do that at the workshop after this meeting.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. So that we can actually help you conduct the engagement in November and December. Okay,
I guess that part didn't show up on my screen, so I couldn't grab it. So, okay, so then we actually start doing something with by stakeholder, you mean the community, correct?
The council motion was to engage with stakeholder groups.
Okay, so that's for November and December. Okay, then in January, we put it all together And okay, I understand now. All right, good. Thank you, Robin.
You're welcome. And so what we would be looking for at this meeting is to agree to conduct a workshop with you to discuss the details and logistics for conducting that stakeholder agreement.
Okay. And I assume in this meeting, you want as many of the Heliport Monitoring Committee available as possible.
Yes, everyone who's able to attend this meeting.
Okay, good. And you would like it to take place within the next 10 days?
No,
or sooner?
actually after this meeting, if possible.
Okay, so sooner than 10 days. All right. Okay. And I think that's very easy to put out a doodle poll to when's everybody available. Now, would this be an in-person meeting or a Zoom meeting?
This would be a continuation of it would be a Zoom meeting, yes.
Okay, good. Because I think a number of us are still concerned about meeting in-person meetings, and
Absolutely.
I think that alleviates a lot of concern type thing.
Yes.
Okay, so Mr. Mayor, you had a question?
I think Robin's suggesting we do that right now. Is that correct, Robin?
After this meeting ends, yes.
But
It was
tonight,
sent out as part of the email to the committee that we would have this meeting, and then we would go and workshop what you would like the engagement to look like afterwards.
Okay, all right. There.
And apologies
me-
if that was not clear in the original email.
No, okay. For myself, I'm available anytime between now and the 13th. So, whatever.
We are hoping to do this today.
Today,
Yes.
like tonight.
Yes.
Oh, well, I guess
Since this is the last thing on the agenda, we had booked quite a bit of time in your calendars for this meeting.
okay.
So that would be.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Then let's move on with that. So good. Okay. So I guess what do you, Robin? Because I've worked with you in policing so much, and I know the way you think. That what would you suggest how we should approach this stakeholder agreement or stakeholder undertaking?
Well, I think at this point, what we need from the committee and from the chair is that a recommendation to conduct a workshop, and then we can go ahead and wrap up this meeting and adjourn it. And then we can go into the workshop. And I've got some exercises to stimulate a conversation for you once we're in the workshop.
Okay, the workshop, is that the part where we involve the citizens?
No, the workshop would be with the Heliport Monitoring Committee.
Okay, all right.
So that we can discuss how you would like to engage with these stakeholders.
Okay, yeah, good, okay. Anybody have any other comments on this, where we got to so far? Go around the table. Doug?
No comments. I support proceeding after this meeting with the workshop.
Okay, Stephen?
No comments from me. Looking forward to working with yourselves and the community on the next steps here. Thank you.
Okay, Sandy?
No, nothing to add. Thanks.
Okay, Jeff?
Yeah, nope. Good to go.
And Todd?
Nope, no comments from myself. Just the same as Stephen was saying. It'd just be great to work with you guys.
Okay,
forward.
now I've just got a question here that may be asked of administration. With having Todd's involvement in these type of sessions, is it a problem with conflict of interest? Or I just thought better bring it up because somebody might raise it in the future. Mr. Mayor?
I'm trying to remember if, and I can't remember, if Todd is actually an appointed member of the committee. I think he's representative.
Yes, he's a member of the committee.
Okay, thank you.
So the idea is that, and that's a valid point, Nick, and it's been raised before. And so the point of the engagement process is, I believe, to listen to what the community has to say and understand what the different groups have on their minds and potential ideas and solutions and that sort of thing. And so Todd is really there to listen and possibly be a technical advisor, or not advisor, but a technical expert in the area of operating a heliport, and so can answer questions as well if need be. So
Okay.
he's not necessarily voting on the information per se. He's really there to listen and really just hear directly from the community.
Okay, and just to relate to Mr. Mayor's standpoint or question there, the bylaw reads, the committee shall consist of 5 members appointed by council. And item B is 1 representative from Alpine Helicopters. So, you know, he's because he's Alpine's representative, he's automatically on the committee. Okay. All right. Good. Okay, Robin, or does anybody have any other questions at this point? Could I suggest we throw it back to Robin to proceed with the next phase of this discussion?
So do we need a motion to approve the engagement process?
I think so.
Okay, I'll make that motion that we approve the engagement process for the Heliport lease renewal as presented.
Yeah, Doug will second it.
Okay, any discussion? Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Unless you hear otherwise, it's carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay. So now, Robin, you've got the motion.
Thank you. I'll let you proceed with adjourning the meeting. And then once the meeting's over, I'd be happy to lead the workshop for you.
Okay, so we won't sign off of Zoom. We'll stay on Zoom. But officially, do I have a motion for adjournment?
Yep.
Doug?
Doug will make a motion. Yep.
Okay, good.
I'll second that.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. Anybody opposed? Abstentions? The meeting's adjourned at 18:40.
Okay, good.